the end of all the individual awards, we'll give out our 3 big awards. And then once that's over, we're going to do some group photos and a couple things that we can use for a special section that will be coming out soon. Not Sunday, but soon after that. And it's just, I'm just kind of agog at the fact that we got this many people here. I'm really thrilled. So anyway, I'm going to introduce someone who is really special to me. And I met him and learned more about him. By the way, there's our sponsors. Yeah, and we'll hit them again. If some of those Abbeys and some of those, frequent them, put in a good word for us. That's a good thing. And then what I'm going to do is introduce Justin Parnell. And I had the privilege of writing about Justin Parnell when he played basketball at Oregon Tech. But I really got to know him and learn more about him when I was teaching journalism up there, and he was taking a journalism class. And I'll embarrass him a little bit. I don't mind. His senior year, after losing in the second round of the national tournament, he was so distraught he didn't want to come over and talk to me. Well, a little bit later, after he's taken my class, he comes up and he goes, "I'm really sorry because I didn't know how hard your job really was." And so it was a good learning experience. And then since then, obviously, with him now being the head coach at Oregon Tech, we've had some great experiences. We've been to Branson together a couple times. We went back to Sioux Falls this year, which for me was very special. And no pressure, but I hope on being there a couple more times, Justin. So we'll put it together anyway. And I was really upfront with Justin. He was my backup plan. We had a young lady who we thought was going to be able to be here, but like the State University's Lorin Ross, I don't know how many of you remember or know the name Lorin Ross. She's the only 2-time Olympian from the Klamath Basin, and she skied in Sochi and was like 0.2 of a second away from winning a medal there. And in Pyeongchang, if you remember back in February, she was 15th in 2 different races, 2.67 seconds combined behind the 2 gold medal times, 2.67 seconds. And she just couldn't make it. So we went to an option, and Justin, who recently was named one of the 30 under 30 men's basketball coaches in the United States by the National Association of Basketball Coaches, one of only 2 from an NAIA school, and one of only 3 who was a head coach. And to me, as soon as I knew that we needed someone, picking Justin Parnell and asking him to come out tonight and share a few words was just absolutely a no-brainer. So I want to introduce you to a great basketball coach, a really wonderful person. But for me personally, I think the greatest thing I can say is I want to introduce you to a really special friend. Justin?
Thanks, Steve. First of all, you guys probably came on the wrong year. If you would have came here last year, I think it was a professional athlete. This year, you get me. First of all, Steve, thanks. On a personal note, Steve does a heck of a job covering our program. And, a lot of NAIA programs maybe get lost in the mix a little bit. And, Steve, he really makes our guys feel special. And, we've been here 30 plus, 40? Yeah, about 30, and thank you. Also, congratulations to all you guys. One of the best things about being a high school athlete is you get to share all these successes with people you grew up with. And when you hear someone talk about, sitting in a backyard barbecue and they're in their 50s and, back when I was in high school, it's never back when I was in college. It's always back when I was in high school, because those are your best memories, because you're with your best friends. You're growing up with them. I'm going to keep this real short, which you guys will, I'm sure you'll appreciate. If you ask our players, I have a 5-minute rule. and partially because I don't like to talk, and the other part is I like to keep things pretty quick. But a couple things. I read an article today in the Herald News, and it was called "Building a Tradition." Is that what it was called? Yeah. Well, no, it was about the Henley softball team, and a big part of the reason I don't like to talk is I'm not a motivator. I'm not an inspirational guy. I feel like that should come from within. And if you have to motivate somebody, then you've already lost, because there's going to be somebody that's intrinsically motivated, and they're going to be ahead of you. What I took away from that article about Henley is those girls, they want it more than their coach does. You know, their coach, obviously, he's a heck of a coach, and he wants it. But he doesn't have to motivate them. And there's a reason they've had so much success, is because they don't have to be told how important it is. And I really enjoyed reading that article. I know Bobby's back there, and that's special. And I would not want to play them next year. So I'm going to share something real quick. I call it the champion effect, or the Scotty Burge effect. And Scotty's one of our current players, and I wanted to bring him tonight, but he's taking a test. It's dead week and finals week this week for our guys. So the reason we came up with the term champion is we have this value point system that Coach Miles came up with, and it's a statistical measure to test your worth, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about it. But there's so much more to athletics than stats, and we call it the human being factor. And you can be a 90% free throw shooter, and you step up to the line, your coach is going to be a lot more confident in you in the first half. You're 90%, or you know it's going in. You know, with 2 seconds to go in a tie game, you don't know what's going to happen. And so we tried to come up with something that was more of a human factor, and that we call it the champion effect. And the reason it came from, I went to a recruiting tournament, when I first started coaching. I didn't know a whole lot, and I was watching a game, and I kept hearing these coaches say, this kid's a winner, and he's a flat out winner. He's won. And I'm watching the game and thinking, I wouldn't want to coach him. He's on a really good team. Yeah, sure, and he's talented, but I just didn't really like the way he carried himself. And he won a ton of games. I kept thinking to myself, that is going to catch up to him at some point, and it did later on in his career. So what we came up with was the term winners and losers, and where we came up with champion is there's a lot of winners on losing teams. And a lot of guys that do things the right way, they just may not be on a talented team enough to win. And there's a lot of losers on winning teams. And that's a good takeaway here is you can be on a great team and be surrounded by a bunch of great athletes and win a lot of games, but maybe you don't do things the right way. And eventually in your career, that's going to catch up with you. And you may be on a real good high school team, you get to the college level and you get exposed. And you get exposed quickly. So turn to champion. We came up with it because we didn't want to call guys winners, and certainly we're going to call guys losers. So what a champion means is, they don't do things because it's the right thing to do. And that's admirable. If you think it's the right thing to do, then do it. But a champion does things because it's the only thing. It's who they are. It's what they do. It's not because they're supposed to. And we got a lot of those guys on our team. We have 18 guys on our team next year, and one of them sitting out here in the crowd. And we recruited all of them because they're champions. And so when we came up with the champion effect, I immediately named it the Scotty Burge effect. And Scotty is a reserve on our team. He played 2-3 minutes a game. He's playing behind an All-American point guard we have. And the best story I have there is I went to watch him at a recruiting tournament as well. And I'm watching this game, and a lot of coaches are enamored by some of the athletes out there. And this one kid catches my eye, and he's making the right pass every single time. And he's communicating, which I love. And he's celebrating the success of his teammates when they score. He's the first guy to go let them know, and that's a very, very good quality. And so at halftime, I'm thinking, oh, geez, I'm going to go look at the score, because you go to these tournaments and they have these tiny little scoreboards. And so So I go check the score, and his team's down 20. And I'm thinking, like, geez, what do I know? You know, he's here. I think this kid's awesome, and we want to sign him, and he's down 20 points. But I had no doubt in my mind that he was the guy we wanted. And I watched him play 4 games that day. He lost all 4. I think he scored twice. But I just knew for a fact that he was going to be the kid that would help us win ball games. And so he came in, he redshirted his first year, and he played last year. And we were playing some guys in front of him that we shouldn't have all year long. And it was the greatest learning experience I'll ever have as a coach. When you have a gut feeling, you need to go with it. And all year I knew we should have played him, and we didn't. And we got down to the end of the year, and a certain kid on our team we released, and it gave Scotty Burge a chance. We had to go to him. We had no other choice. We went on the road and beat number 21 Eastern Oregon by 25. And then the next night we broke C of I's 18-game win streak. They were number 4 in the country, and we beat them at their place in front of 2,500 fans. And Scotty Burge was unbelievable. And then we come back home, and we're playing a Corbin team that we can't beat. And 1 minute to go, he finds himself in the ballgame and buries a big 3. Kind of gives me chills talking about it, but it proved the point that you're going to win with champions. And my point to you guys is, you know, some of you have been on very good teams. If you're out here, you're talented, you're getting an award because you're one of the best around, and you won a lot of ball games. But if you're not a champion, it's going to catch up with you. And you know, my message is do things the right way. Celebrate the success. Some of you guys, if you're seniors, you may go on to play college athletics. You may go straight into a job or go to college. But celebrate the success of the people around you. And because I tell you what, when it's all over, those personal awards aren't much. It's the memories you have with your teammates and your brothers and your sisters that you'll keep forever. So we call it the champion effect, the Scotty Burge effect, and I think a lot of people can get up and say, you know, this is what we do in our program, but you know, the proof is in the pudding. And you know, we recruited Scotty Burge because he's a champion, and there's a kid out here who's getting an award who's a champion as well, and that's why he's coming to Oregon Tech. So thanks for having me. I look forward to shaking all your hands up there.
Okay, now for the fun part. We are going to present a whole lot of awards. And what we're going to ask is, once you're called up, I've got a couple of notes on everybody. And what we're going to do is ask you to come down on the far end where there's a little step there, so you can come up, accept your plaque, and we've got a little bag of with a couple goodies. And when you're done, go back out that way, unless you want to try and. Some of us who are vertically challenged, it's a long way. So we're going to start. And Shauna, are you ready? Okay, we're going to start with football. And football is one of the sports this year we decided to go with a large school, small school winner just because of some disparities that we saw and try and make it better. So our first winner is a quarterback, 3-year starter at Henley. And I'm only going to go with a few football numbers because he'll be back and we've got a couple more things to say. Anyway, Kyle Hedwick, come on up, Kyle. He passed this year for 891 yards and 7 touchdowns. He rushed for another 317 yards and 14 touchdowns. That's a pretty darn good season. One reason why they had the success that they did. So Kyle's our first winner. The second one, we know for a fact, Hosanna Christian has a senior thing going on tonight, so Silas Sanchez will not be here, which is really sad because he's one of the most decorated individuals in Hosanna Christian high school history. He was the player of the game in the state championship game this past season when they played in the finals, and he was a first-team all-state player in offense. We're going to go now to boys soccer. There's no name. Shockingly. He's one of our two-time winners in an individual sport. We have Josh Ledgerwood from Henley. Josh was a first-team All-State player, Skyline Conference Player of the Year. This year, he scored 21 goals and had 7 assists. He had a career total of 41 goals and 20 assists, and pretty good career. And I will be seeing him a few times this fall since I cover Oregon Tech, and he's going to be playing for the Hustle Owls. Girls soccer from Mazama. She scored 44 career goals and was a 4-time first-team All-League player, Aspen Smith. And we're going to try and keep this thing rolling because we have to do photos and a bunch of stuff, so we'll make it quick. Volleyball. Kennedy Dirk from Bonanza. Is Kennedy here? A couple notes on Kennedy. She led her team with 9.4 kills, 4.8 blocks, 3.1 aces, and 5.3 digs per match this season, and is a 2-time All-State player for their team, which has generally gone to the state championships. Next up, I know this young man won't be here. Kyle Dieter, 2nd-time winner as a boys cross-country champion, 2nd year in a row. That of all the male cross-country runners in the Klamath Basin, and the Klamath Basin we include as Klamath, Lakeview, Modoc, and Siskiyou counties, so we cover 17 high schools. 2nd year in a row, he's had the best state tournament time. And he's not home from a senior trip, so we'll get that to him. Girls cross country. From Henley, is it Kira or Kyra? Kira Morrow. She had a strong finish. I'll be honest, and cross country is one of the ones that I cover for the high school sports. And early in the year, I had no clue who this person was. And all of a sudden, I start seeing this name, and all of a sudden, by the end of the year, she ended up finishing best amongst all the girls in all the different high schools in the 2 states. She was 17th in the state championships, and she was less than a second shy of being in the top 12 in the state meet, which is not too bad. We're going to go to wrestling. I love wrestling. I love a lot of things, but I have a long history of covering wrestling from my days in Minnesota and South Dakota. I can say with absolute honesty that what this young man did at the state tournament this year, it's not rare. It's extremely rare. He lost his first match at the state tournament and then came back and won 6 times to finish 3rd in the state tournament. In 50 years of covering high school wrestling in Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, Washington, and Oregon, it's only the 2nd time that I've ever seen that happen. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. Boys basketball from Mazama, Trey Lopez scored 302 points, made 48% of his field goals. He had 82 rebounds, 74 assists, and 48 steals this year for the Vikings. Basketball is another one of the sports where we're going to have a large school, small school. So for the small school winner, somebody who scored 207 points, one of 3 players on his team with over 200 points. He had 100 rebounds, 153 assists, and a slightly better than 2-to-1 ratio of assists to turnovers, which is really, really good. And I know that that's one thing that basketball coaches look for is a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. He also had 101 steals and 16 block shots. He's a school valedictorian. It was Eli Bilta from Triad. Girls basketball. When we had the Herald and News Hoops Classic, I made her wear a number she didn't want. And I told her, you're not going to play in a Herald and News game at Oregon Tech if you don't wear number 11. Because that's the number her dad wore. It's the number her uncle wore. Her uncle was a 3-time All-American. So our girls basketball winner made 36% of her shots, scored 220 points. She had 93 rebounds, 121 assists, almost a 2-to-1 ratio in assists to turnovers with 67 steals. She was in double figures 12 times. It's Janae Hall from Mazama. And I don't know that Janae's here. Her dad had played at Oregon Tech, and her uncle is a career scoring leader at Oregon Tech. Some of you may have remembered watching Lavelle Haysia play. Girls basketball, again, from Lost River. Her team was one of the top 2 rated teams in the state of Oregon until she got hurt. And an injury that cost her also a track season. And a year ago, she won 4 gold medals at the state track and field meet to be the 2A athlete of the meet. And she went down with the injury. Her team still advanced, but the season after she was hurt went downhill pretty quick. So we have Rachel Parks of Lost River. Boys swimming. What this young man did this year, well, there's a whole lot of people in this room that were not alive the last time a male swimmer from Klamath Falls won a state championship. The last time that it happened was 1972. TJ Morgan went up and won the 50-yard freestyle this year and was very close to winning the 100, but he's the first male state swimming champion from Klamath Falls since 1972. TJ Morgan, representing Henley. Girls swimming, second time to the state meet, from also representing Henley. She was the only girl from the Klamath Basin this year and one of only 2 a year ago, Macy Holman. And I fully expect to see TJ and Macy competing this summer. Am I right, Dan? And they have their home meet 13th and 14th of July, right in that range? 13th to 15th, okay. And I'll tell you what, if you really want to see some fun stuff, go out and watch the swimmers. They compete. One of the favorite events is the Henley Freeze in January when they're out there swimming when it's 20 degrees. And the kids love it. So, okay, now we're going to go to baseball. And our male winner, or our big school winner is, I don't know if he's heard this yet. I know he knows he was a Skyline Conference Player of the Year, but 2 days ago I received the All-State team, and he's a first-team All-State outfielder for Henley, and he also won the award for baseball last year. Tremendous player, good hitter, and Jake Overstreet, nice job. Baseball and softball are the other 2 sports that we're going big and small, and I'm really excited because we've added a couple schools into our fold of winners, and Modoc is one of them. They had a catcher who was pretty darn good. His twin brother wasn't bad, but Trevor Schluter from Modoc, he led every player in the northern section, regardless of division, with 43 runs batted in, and threw out 56% of the runners that tried to steal against him. He batted .483, scored 34 runs, had 43 hits, with 11 doubles, 2 home runs, and his on-base percentage was .535, which for baseball people is pretty good. In softball, young lady who she had no choice. She's going to be like a couple of my great nephews. She has no choice in being good because of her mom and dad. She's got some pretty good genes. But anyway, Kayla Mick from Henley. She led the Hornets in batting this year. She had a team-high 61 hits, 14 doubles, drove in 45 runs, and helped the Hornets to a state championship a year ago and a state runner-up finish this year. The other one is another first school that we have from Tule Lake, Marissa Mackin. I know for all of you who play softball and baseball in the spring around here, you know that our weather's pretty conducive to great quality athletics. This young lady beat out 11 ground balls for base hits this year. That's phenomenal. She also had 4 doubles and a triple and stole 43 bases and had just 1 error in the outfield and did not start playing the game of softball until she was a freshman in high school. Boys track and field. I don't know if Darius is here or not. Darius Holmes. There he is. Darius was another one that kind of came out of the woodwork about halfway through the season. Had a great season. Finished 4th in the state 4A discus. Competed in the state long jump. And ran a few relays. Had a great season. And things should get better for him. Because you're a sophomore, right, Darius? He's got 2 more years, so could be interesting. Girls track and field. From Hosanna Christian, we have Kaya Nelson. She won the girls 400-meter open race this year, helped her team to a 4x100 victory in the relay, and helped Hosanna Christian place 3rd in the team race, and they got edged out in the very final, the 4x4 100. Hosanna did not have a team. The team that finished a point ahead of them in the standings did, and that cost them 2nd place. The next winner is not here. These two, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about this kid. I've known him for a couple of years. He's probably one of the most humble athletes I've ever met, and if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't. But he's up in Vancouver, Washington right now playing in a pretty darn big tournament up at the Royal Oaks with the big guys. So our golfer is Craig Ronnie. His award is being accepted by his nephew, Colton Putnam. Listen to this. I don't know if you follow golf, but in his 4 rounds of postseason play this year, he went 62, 10 under, 66, 6 under, 68, 4 under, 66, 6 under. A couple of guys set course records on the PGA Tour in the last couple of weeks, and we're about 12 strokes higher than that. That's just a phenomenal effort, and he doesn't know it yet, but Craig is a finalist for the Johnny Carpenter Award as the outstanding 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A athlete in the state of Oregon, and the last Johnny Carpenter winner that we had in Klamath Falls was Tara Harrington in 1992. So to be a finalist, that's a pretty big deal. So hopefully we're going to bring him back with a couple more awards. Boys tennis. Brian Baker from Henley won the district championship. Had a good season, didn't lose too often. And at the state tournament, he opened with a victory. When you open up with a win there, in order to keep playing, you have to keep winning. And he got beat in the 2nd round, which didn't allow him to continue. You have to make it to the semifinals to have a chance after losing after a 1st round win. But Brian, nice season. The girls winner won her third district championship and became just the 3rd singles state champion from Klamath Falls, joining Val Jarecki in 1983 and Jessica Arthur in 1997. So Cortland Lamb of Klamath Union, I know she goes to Triad. I don't know if she's here. Somebody's here to accept on her behalf. It looks like Dad. And so Cortland Lamb is our winner there. Okay, we've got 3 awards left. And I will guarantee you that I sat down with Jake and Joaquin and we had some very spirited discussions on a couple of these awards. The first 2 is going to be the outstanding male athlete in the Klamath Basin this year. And I say it was a very spirited discussion. There were at least 4 individuals in the discussion. And it came down to a young man who's already been up here once. He's a two-time All-State basketball player. He's an All-State football player. Got some pretty good numbers. Decent baseball player. Right? Second baseman. I'm a little fond of second basemen. I was an infielder. So anyway, our male athlete this year, a lot of All-State awards, and if you go up and watch Oregon Tech basketball over the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see plenty of Kyle Hadwick. Come on up. And Kyle, by the way, Kyle was the boys basketball winner a year ago, so he's collecting some decent hardware. Our female athlete of the year. This one was probably one of the easiest ones we had to pick. And I asked the staff guys to do most of the selections because they cover most of the high school sports. I don't see a lot of high school football. I don't see a lot of high school volleyball. I don't see a lot of high school soccer. I really don't see a whole lot of high school basketball, things like that. But they picked this young lady as a top 2 finisher in 3 different sports, which says a ton about how good she is, an all-around athlete. And last year, she won an individual award, soccer. And I'm kind of waiting to get back to the office so I can get on Facebook to Grandma and Grandpa and and let them know. But anyway, our female athlete of the year from Mazama is Landy Williams. The final award that we have is what we call the most inspirational athlete in the area. It's a tough award to figure out how you determine a winner. There are always every year several young men and several young women. We have one out here in Rachel Parks. We have a couple of the others who overcome serious injuries. Rachel's older sister, Emily, was an All-American at Westmont College this year. Also had a very severe ACL and came back from that. I've seen a lot of the kids up at OIT in a lot of sports. Injuries, sadly, are a part of the game. What we did is we selected someone this year who in her school is, to say she's an inspiration is a major league understatement. She's one of 4 girls, 3. One of 4 daughters being raised by a single mom who speaks virtually no English. She's a California State FFA champion. She can 3-time? Well, 2, 3. I know she's won it a couple times. She competes in a whole variety of sports. She too had never played softball until she was a freshman, and was a key component along with her teammate in Tule Lake winning the Evergreen League softball championship. So we picked a young lady this year who is within her school, and the things that she's done to overcome a lot of disadvantages. And I think she could be an inspiration to every one of us. So our most inspirational athlete this year goes to Gabby Gonzalez from Tule Lake. That's going to conclude our awards. What we're going to do now is, I know that we want to get some photos, a group photo of all of our winners. We want to get a couple of individual winners. Both Kyle and Landy know they have to stick around for a few minutes to be interviewed for some stories, because we'll put together some kind of a section, probably a 4-page section like we did last year, that will come out somewhere in the future. So we need the winners to stick around. We appreciate everyone being here tonight. It's special. Every year we try to find ways to make it a little bit better. Anyone who has any suggestions or hints One thing we know is there's no such thing as a perfect night. Never going to happen. No such thing as a perfect day. It's not going to happen. But if anyone has some ideas or hints that we can use to make this program a little bit better, we sure would like to hear about it. So don't be afraid to talk to me. Where's Ben? Ben's back over behind the pizza tables. Shauna over here, who's been running the screens up here so you could see who the winners were and all those kinds of things. Or me. Feel free to come up if you have a suggestion, and we'll be more than happy to accept it. I also want to, again, thank a very special friend of mine, Justin Parnell, for coming up, and we appreciate it. I did see something the other day that I want to share, because while most of us live in Oregon, okay, we know that. I'm actually a Minnesotan, but I love this verse. Religion was one of my 2 majors in college, and I saw something, a quote from C.S. Lewis. And he's written some incredible books, the Screw Tape Letters and a bunch of stuff. And he penned these words, and I think this is a perfect set of words to end a really fun evening with. Be weird. Be random. Be who you are, because you never know who would love the person you're currently hiding. And I think that's just, I don't know, I can't think of a better set of words to close out the evening with. So, winners, we're going to have you, we'll figure out, Sean, where do you want, if you want them up here, you want them in front of the...
No, I guess I do in front of the screen.
Okay, so we want all the winners to show up, and we're going to do the photo up in front of the magic screen. And for the rest of you, we appreciate you coming. Thank you for your attendance. And we thank you for the work you do with your children and their friends, and supporting them in not only their athletic endeavors, but hopefully their academic endeavors and their other activities.